Granblue Fantasy Relink has already started announcing their post-game DLC content, with Siofan and Tuyen coming in April. You may think this is just a generic character prediction video, but what if I told you the criteria to pick characters for Granblue Fantasy Relink has already been revealed by the developers? So instead of just guessing, we're going to be taking all of those factors into consideration, and I'm going to give you 5 new characters that we can see coming to Granblue Fantasy Relink as DLC. Before that though, let's start with the criteria that I mentioned earlier, which was revealed in an interview with NorCal Granblue. They've stated that for Granblue Fantasy Relink, the 3 main factors that they're looking for are: how fun would the character play in an action game, how popular is the character, and will this character be able to play different from the rest of the roster. In addition to that, they also stated that the developer's preference would be mainly water element characters because they have such a unique playstyle that can be animated, but they've already hit several of those in the base roster, so we're gonna go ahead and disregard that portion of their answer. They used a similar criteria for Granblue Fantasy vs Rising and did a playable character survey where 5 out of 7 of the new characters in the game were directly pulled from that poll. Now, the reason that this is important is because 1, it establishes the credibility of their selection criteria and they actually follow through with what they say they're going to do. They're not just giving you polls for no reason. And 2, every character outside of Roland, Yodarha, and Ganda Goza are either playable in Granblue Fantasy vs Rising, or they're in the game as non-playable characters. So that means we have 3 characters in the entire Granblue Fantasy Relink that aren't in their fighting game. So it feels like they're approaching this as hitting 2 birds with 1 stone, giving us the most popular characters in both games, with a few exceptions. Before we move forward, I really would appreciate it if you scroll down, smash that subscribe button, and help me get this video to 100 likes. You may have already seen a couple videos and not realized that you're not already subscribed to the channel, but if you take care of that, in return, I'm gonna take care of you, because come launch, I'm gonna be releasing a ton of guides, raiding with the community, and keeping you updated on all news Granblue Fantasy Relink. But now that you've taken care of that, let's get back into the video. Now that we've laid out the criteria and why I selected these characters, let's go ahead and get started with my list. To start us off, we have Sandal Fawn. He's the undisputed most requested character throughout all of the regions. I feel like this makes him a sure lock, and he seems to play different from the entire cast, with the only comparison of a similar playstyle being Siofan that's coming in April. Sandal Fawn, for I don't know what reasons, has 6 wings with projectile slashes and beams, and controls 4 floating greatswords-like weapons along with his standard sword on his hip. Overall, he looks like a beast, but I'm just curious how they're gonna interpret this like over-the-top final boss-like abilities into a playable character within Relink. I know he's a fan favorite, but if somehow in the lore he's a bad guy in any way, shape, or form, I could easily see him being a raid boss though, as opposed to a playable character in the game. Next on our list, we have Beatrix. Beatrix is gonna fight with the sword that's covered in dark energy, as her element is darkness in the mobile game. And Beatrix actually is the 3rd most requested character in that survey. And to add more credence to her coming to the game, Beatrix is also a non-playable character in Granblue Fantasy vs Rising, which means that her 3D character model is already done. Now, another character in that similar situation where they're not playable in the vs Rising fighting game, but their model is in the game, is Siofan. He also happened to be the 4th most requested in that survey, and they announced him as DLC for Relink already. So we have Siofan, who's in a similar situation as Beatrix, but Beatrix has been requested more. I think it only makes sense that we can expect her to be coming in the future. My next prediction is going to be Viala, based on her placement in the popularity polls and how creative her playstyle can be. Viala fights using a set of balloons that turns into a bear trap, which is just, you can't replicate that. That's something that's such a unique playstyle that I feel is going to play similar to Fairy's Whip, where you're fighting at mid-range using that bear trap and swinging it around attacking people. Viala also has lore implications that would make her a good package deal with Vanilla, another highly requested playable character from Granblue Fantasy vs Rising. This list isn't in any type of order, but these 2 in my mind are the ones that I could see coming next, just because, like I said, we have those lore implications and we can get the Fate episodes added along with them, and Anila's character model would already be done from the fighting game. Nier is my final prediction that has any type of association from the popularity polls. Currently, we don't have a summon character in game, and her puppet would be a unique way to incorporate that in Granblue Fantasy Relink. It also helps that she's a Granblue Fantasy versus Rising playable character, so I keep saying this, but her model is already done, but since she's playable, she's already likely gonna have several skills already animated and kind of brought from the 2D mobile game into a 3D universe that they can take and bring to Relink. Grimner is the last character on this list that I predict to be coming to Granblue Fantasy Relink. He's not from the popularity polls, but I feel his playstyle in Versus Rising is unique and would be fun to see in an action RPG, so he hits one of those criterias. Out of all of the characters left in Versus Rising, the fighting game, not announced for Relink already, Grimner is the only one that doesn't hit an overlapping playstyle. We already have 2 gun users, we have a bow user announced as DLC, I can't even remember how many sword users we have announced, that's including single hand, dual wield, and great swords, and we have grapplers announced. So I think his playstyle will be a nice twist, no pun intended because tornadoes, twist, you get it? Okay, you didn't laugh, fine. But it will be a unique way to add another playstyle and another weapon with his lance. I know I said 5, but I'm gonna give you a last bonus character because I wanted to include some type of collaboration unit in this video. In previous videos on the channel, I stated why I feel like there's gonna be a collab character, and I speculated that it would be Tales of Arise. But after sitting with it, I feel like Alphen's design may be too similar to Siegfried, and Xion is just going to be shooting a gun, so those two wouldn't be unique enough to bring in as collab units. They wouldn't provide anything different to the game that's already there. Now, my hot take is, eventually we'll get a Demon Slayer collaboration with Tanjiro and Nezuko as playable characters for Relink. I don't have any evidence to back up this statement, aside from that there's already been a Demon Slayer collab in the mobile game, and I feel like Tanjiro and Nezuko will play different than the rest of the cast. They can also package them up as 2 units and give us Fate episodes, but that's just kind of what I was going for. My criteria was looking at collabs that have already been done, so I didn't want to just say anything outlandish. I feel like Demon Slayer may be outlandish, but I'm going with it, and that's going to be my prediction. This is all just speculation of my educated guesses, but feel free to leave which characters you want the most in the comments down below. I did the research, I did the science, I found out what the criterias were. Some of you that play the mobile game may have more lore knowledge on which characters can be packaged up together well from this list and added to the game with Fate episodes, so I leave that in your hands. But since these are just predictions, I'll have a video linked here of characters that are already in the game to help you choose who you want to main at launch. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.